We're doing our number 2 video on Murrysville. Sometimes when I'm doing these things, I'm using equipment that is brand new and I'm not used to using, so there may be a bit less control here than you'd like to see. But as John Dewey used to say, we learn by doing. Hang on. Now, in Murrysville number 1, we saw pretty much the early history of Murrysville, how it came about, what happened there. This second video on Murrysville will be a continuation of that. And then we'll segue into the thing that really got attention for Murrysville, which was the gas well. If we were doing this production about 120 years ago, this would not be something you hadn't heard about. I mean, most people don't even know that there was a really big deal that happened out at Murrysville quite a few years ago. It was the site of the first gas well in the county, in Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania. And some things happened there which really did attract a lot of attention. It wasn't just the first gas well in the county, but it was the first one that was brought in big time. I mean, the thing exploded. The gas pressure was absolutely horrendous when they hit the thing at 1,400 feet down. And then, sometime after, the thing caught on fire and attracted pretty much national attention. And then this sleazeball from out in Chicago, the guy who called himself a promoter, tried to get ownership of fraudulent activity. He gave them a down payment and he never paid them for it. And then he sent a bunch of thugs, about 50 armed guys, armed with rifles with bayonets on. And they killed one of the Haymaker brothers, who were the original people who brought in the well. And eventually got taken to, the law got involved and they took these guys to court. They got a lot of public relations. And we're going to deal with that to some degree in the thing on Murrysville. So I'm going to shut this part of it down and then we'll see pictures and some explanation of the things that happened there. Okay, bye now. We are going ahead now with the next part of Murrysville here. We have an old map from 1857. This was called Franklin Township, which it no longer is. And part of Franklin Township was Murrysville. Murrysville was right over here, and I wanted to just show you briefly. That's what Murrysville looked like in 1857. This is a larger, completely inclusive map of Franklin Township. This over here is Murrysville. And I should mention that sometime in the 1970s, a decision was made to call this whole area the municipality of Murrysville, which I don't think was a good idea. It's very confusing because this is Murrysville. And a lot of people can get confused by that, but not my problem. Now this is the very heart over here of Murrysville. I should say it was, because this is what Jeremiah Murray laid out as the town square. See, this was the old William Penn Highway that went through Murrysville. And this was the center of it. And the road was realigned more recently to become Route 22. This is Route 22. And I think of how many times I rode through here, never knowing that the heart of Murrysville, the center of it, was over here. Now this is an older picture from 1913 showing the road coming in from the west. And this is the very center of town where the road expands and gets wider, because this was the town square as Jeremiah Murray laid it out. Another shot of the town square, how the road expands. This is the Methodist church. In 1913, the church was dedicated. It's still there, but it's been expanded a bit. This is the way Murrysville was laid out. This was the original road coming through. It was called the Northern Pike, and then later the William Penn Highway. Now it's Route 22, which is rearranged a bit, realigned. Here is the area up here that was the original town square as laid out by Jeremiah Murray. Route 22 coming through. Carson Avenue coming down here. Meeting something more recent. That was the railroad. 1891, George Westinghouse's new railroad came through there. And we have a picture of the railroad station, which is no longer there. But anyhow, that showed up in 1891. On Reed Boulevard was one of the old one-room schoolhouses, and I kind of smile when I think about this because I remember interviewing a lady who taught in one of those places, an old one-room schoolhouse, and what it was like to have a whole room full, a whole building full of kids who were in ages from maybe 5 to 13, and somehow you had to teach them. And the way it worked was eventually the older kids learned how to help out with the younger kids. And it was a good lesson in how things were learned in advance of the 3 R's. They did learn the 3 R's, reading, writing, and arithmetic, but they also learned how to get along because they realized that, you had to help out as you were going to school and getting educated. One of the things you were being taught was how to help out in the world that you lived in. Okay, here is the road. Here is the one of the original gas stations, which was on the William Penn Highway, Bobby Riggs' garage. Now this shows us part of the big deal that happened in Murrysville, the gas well. This was the pumping station for the original gas well. This was the Presbyterian church. This is a better shot of the gas pumping station, which was invented by a guy named Pew, P-E-W. If you've ever heard the Pew Trust in around Pittsburgh, the person who originated that was one of the people who began People's Natural Gas and Sun Oil Company, I might mention, with the last name Pew, P-E-W. Here we come to a 1939 view. Murrysville is right here. And we're going to focus on things, the old town square. Can you see that right there? We're going to enlarge once again. A bunch of trees that were planted to make a sign of Murrysville. The guy who was in charge of the Boy Scouts did this in 1933. Here we go for a better picture of it. That's still there. This you might have seen on the highway going in, and it recounts the original gas well that started a lot of stuff going on. Contemporary view. This pushpin shows the original location of the gas well. This is that old Murrysville sign made out of trees. Michael Haymaker. Michael and his brother Obadiah drilled the original well that brought in the first gas well in the county. Colonel Israel Painter was a guy that they worked with. He was a big mover and shaker in the county, dealing with oil and coal. And the Haymaker brothers were working with him, learning how to drill wells. They were drilling oil wells. And when they drilled the gas well that became the gas well in Murrysville, they thought they were drilling an oil well, but it came in as a gas well. This was Hilary Bruneau, who financed the Haymaker brothers to do the original well, which originally exploded. You can see it originally exploding, and it blew the whole rig up in the air. Everything around there was blown away. One of the haymakers was, practically knocked out by the explosion. And then, something more than a year later, the thing caught fire. This was in Harper's Weekly, which shows it was a really big national event. Here we have all these circles. These are gas wells that in the mid-19-teens were located around Murrysville. Murrysville was right in the middle. This was the William Penn Highway going through. This was one of the original wells, showing what it looked like once it got capped. This is a topo map. Murrysville was right here. Trafford down here. This is the boundary line between Westmoreland County and Allegheny County. Now, Porky tells us that we've gone far enough, and I think that's as much as we're going to say on Murrysville. And we'll say so long now, and we'll see you again. Bye.